All right, so this whole quartet idea that I've got my boys involved in over these last 23 years, that it has its roots, it has its foundation, and in something, and you were very much a part of that. So if you would just share again how this whole quartet thing came about back in what year?
We started in 1967.
Wow.
Actually, we were all three going to, the three of us, being Alfred Allen, Ethan Allen, your daddy, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to the old Banks Church in Baton Rouge. We were working for Best Manufacturing. And one Christmas, we sang, the three of us sang We Three Kings for a Christmas play. And all three of us sang a verse, but they had to change the keys for each one of us to sing. But anyway, that's the first song we ever sang together. Then we got invited to an associational meeting. They wanted us to sing a couple of songs. At that time, we bought us some white shirts and small and red ties, and at that time, the ties were about 1.5 inches wide.
Right.
So we would wear these white shirts with bright red tie, and the people made fun and said it looked like we'd cut our throats up there. So we sang there, and then there was a young man by the name of John Wayne Blackwell that had a church out at, it was, well, I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Been a few years ago.
Yeah, been a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he had us come sing one night. Well, we had learned 4 songs, memorized 4 songs. And went out there. We sang our 4 songs, and John Wayne got up and told the audience, we're just going to turn the services over to the fishermen.
That's the only songs you
That's
do.
the only songs we
Well,
do.
hey, not everybody could say they sung for John Wayne.
That's right.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So my dad, Ethan, and then my uncle Alfred, who was really a second cousin of mine, because he and my dad were first cousins.
That's right.
And then you, Rodney Ray, who was not really related to me, but you've been Uncle Rodney all my life.
Yeah.
Because I was born the last day of '66. And so you guys began in '67, and that's all I've ever known was you guys singing together.
That's right.
But it started as 3, and then eventually you got another singer because it became a quartet.
It was Ethan's brother, Ernest.
My Uncle Ernest.
And Ernest was still in high school. He was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he started singing with us. He could sing any part.
Right.
And so he started singing the baritone, to me, which is the hardest part of the quartet to sing.
Yeah.
I can hear the high tenor part, I can hear the bass, I can hear the lead, but the baritone to me is tough.
But you did a great job singing tenor for the group.
Yeah.
Now, you were the bass singer, and my dad
Right.
was the tenor singer, and then Alfred was the lead.
That's
and
right.
Then Ernest was the baritone. And so when did you guys decide on the name?
We were working out at a company called Best Manufacturing as draftsmen, and we decided we kind of liked what we were doing, so let's form a group. So we did, and then we said, well, we need a name. And your daddy come up with the name. He said, let's call ourselves the Fishermen. And I said, Fishermen? Yeah, that sounds good. But he said, well, it's after Matthew 4:19.
Right.
Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men.
Yeah.
And that's how we got our name.
And that's been a stay in my life, just to be going to concerts all around the Baton Rouge, Hammond area. When you guys were close enough, Dad would just take the family and we'd go hear you all sing.
Most of our singing was in churches.
Right.
And most of our singing was a ministry. We tried to present the gospel. We had invitations almost everywhere we ever sang. Mm. And we would tell the people when we came there, now we're going to end with an invitation.
Right.
If you don't want that, then you don't want us.
Right, right.
But they were all agreeable, so it went well. And
absolutely. Well, I love so very, very much the fact that you guys were doing industry songs, and there was certainly a good presentation to what the Fishermen did. It was on a professional level. You had some comedy
Yes.
throughout it as well.
Sure.
But there was always ministry minded, and that's what I liked, because even what all God has allowed us to be a part of in these 23 years, I never lost sight of that fact. The most important thing was the ministry. I remember my dad because he was my hero, singing there.
Sure.
And songs that he would sing like "Look for Me at Jesus' Feet,"
Yes.
or "I Should Have Been Crucified,"
Right.
and some of those great songs. I can remember as many times as he sang them. It seemed to me that every time I heard him sing it was as if he was singing it for the very first time.
That's right.
It really came from deep within. He knew who he was singing about, why he was singing, and it just really ministered to people.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Alfred was the type of guy that he was our lead, but Alfred never backed up. He was a good lead because it didn't matter if we were singing before 1 or 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped out and took the lead, and away he went.
Yeah.
Ethan had, like you said, he just had that feeling about him that people loved. They came to him. It just like I used to pick at him about all the old ladies loved him.
Yeah.
But he put that across even in his singing, and it was heartfelt.
Yeah.
Your grandmother, Ethan's mom, one time, was kind of comical. She was talking about the group, and she talked about Alfred would not back up from anything. He would jump out there and take the lead. And Ethan had this beautiful voice that everybody, and the mannerisms that people loved. Talked about Ernest and his voice, and that he could sing anything. And she looked at me and said, "You got the gift of gab." So
You could just let her go.
I just let it go.
Well, that's awesome.
But I did do most of the speaking for the group.
Yeah. So watching you guys sing as much as you did, and being right there at the concert, sitting in the audience, there was something in me that wanted to do what you guys were doing.
Yeah, good.
And I grew up that way. I just wanted to be a part of that ministry that was going forth with singing and all. And finally, it was realized.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a long time coming.
Yeah.
But somebody, I forget who was playing the piano, had to quit or had to do something else, and it left you guys wondering, what are we going to do about a piano player? And I had just learned how to play a 3-chord song.
Right.
And that's all. It was just a oompa, oompa.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my dad, I can play the piano. I was so enthusiastic about it, and he kept trying to politely put me off because he heard me just hitting those 3 chords over and over. And finally he said, if you'll learn 10 songs for our group, then we'll consider you. Well, the next week I said, I got them. It was just as plain Jane as anything could be. But the Fishermen kind of gave me a start and gave me a little bit of boost of confidence there, and would sing along to those just 3 chords.
That's all we needed. Most of our songs was 3 chords.
Every intro was the same. So
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering if you guys were going to start on the right song or not. But that was really good. So there was my love for being in quartets, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. And finally, I was able to start in a ministry where I had quite a few boys into our family and was able to have our own male quartet. So
that's great, because actually our prayers were, back in those days, that we knew we couldn't go forever, but we were praying that it would be carried on, and that's what and y'all are doing it worldwide now.
Yeah.
Where we were just this area.
Yeah. And now I have boys, and we got my grandson now involved too, a little bit in singing. So those prayers are going to continue to be answered. I really believe that. So I'm thankful for you.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it.